It is the year 2041. A group of travelers began a mission to explore a planet 1,280 light-years from Earth. It was a habitable planet that had been studied for 10 years, and it was larger than Earth. Aboard the inter-universal spacecraft were 2 pilots, 3 scientists, and 22 specifically selected civilians, wanting to explore and establish a new colony. 1 prototype clone hybrid was included as a walking database and computation interface, and was the nutritionist, the cook, the navigator, and above all, it was autonomous. It had the ability to measure quantities and weight. It could utilize tools and build like a human, without blueprints, which meant it could construct things on its own, under its own protocol. The one-of-a-kind custom-made android series was named Sentiana. Her creators called her Sentia. The scientists were Alana, the talented astrophysicist, Jackson, the biochemist and architectural genius, and Deva, a spiritualist and quantifier of unknowable things in nature. She was a savant and could discern things through the use of mathematics that others could not. Lance was one of the pilots, Andrea was the other. As an android, Sentia was peaceful and would maintain order when debates became heated, aided by logic so advanced that it resulted in a mutual solution and understanding so complete that none could continue or stimulate any further arguments without appearing foolish. The travelers were professionals and conducted themselves in an equally immaculate manner. They had worked together for so long on so many projects that they were a family, as it would appear. The 2 pilots were highly skilled cyborgs. They directed themselves towards the secondary Earth-type planet, reached the planet's outer ionosphere, and were met with heavy magnetic interference. As they conducted their atmospheric entry, the landscape began to define itself. Through the haze of vapor and clouds, they could see small openings that showed vast areas of land illuminated with vibrant colors. They were more than surprised at the appearance of the landscape as they reached a lower altitude of 20,000 feet. The civilians from multiple countries on Earth saw their alien destination up close for the first time. As they lowered to around 50 feet, all present were silent with awe. The wind carried shimmering light with it. The grass on the plains were glowing different colors, gently shifting with the direction of the winds. The grass emitted a faint glow of light. They looked around at the foreign trees, birds, and strange animals of varying sizes that were dispersed throughout the spectacle of the never-before-seen alien landscape. The planet was uninhabited by hominids or other foreign intelligences. Sentia designated the best landing area, and the astronauts began the landing sequence. The ship had brought them across the universe to a new and unmapped world. They landed and gathered themselves as they stood up inside the ship and began to stretch and move around. They were relieved the transit was flawless with no accidents. Sentia exited the ship first as the others were preparing themselves for exploration through the application of their secondary spacesuits. She had to sample the air and surface radiation before the humans could exit the ship. The holographic scanner identified all objects around them, and it appeared to be safe within a 1-mile proximity. Sentia had a prototype bioscanner that could assess whether an organism was male or female, or was hostile or friendly, and could detect chemicals, minerals, elements, and radiation. As calculated, the foreign planet was hospitable, yet its atmosphere was not exactly like Earth's. The oxygen levels were almost too high for humans, so they had to wear very lightweight suits with helmets. Of course, that would change a few days later, as the massive Central Environmental and Atmospheric Mediation Facility was created. The civilians were excited and in awe of the new world as they looked around through the windows. A small waterfall fell from a 30-foot-high cliff, and above that was a floating island. They seemed to be everywhere. Its waterfall was supplying the one beneath it. Sentia stared at the curious appearance of it. No place on Earth had the same element, appearing more magical than real. The 2 pilots held basic weaponry in the form of multi-tools with high-power lasers. They had to be prepared as the scientists had no military background and were unarmed. Sentia stuck her index finger into the ground and tested the soil, and then walked to the small creek formed by the waterfalls. She put her right hand into the water and watched tiny waves emanating outward from it. She pulled her hand away and the water followed it, stretching upwards at an angle as if it was communicating. It seemed elastic in its nature and slowly retracted down into its standard state of moving water. The humans watched her interacting with it, and she walked back to them. They spent 90 minutes walking around, picking things up from the ground, touching plants, watching foreign insects land on them. It was a time of discovery and awareness. No human had seen glowing and pulsating landscapes, nor the islands. The hovering island were simple features of nature, made of rock that by magentic force repelled themselves upward and away from the surrounding ground below it. The civilians were planning to build their homes up in the sky that would become hovering properties. It was their land and had the rights to all of it. They claimed what was necessary to them. The physicist and biochemist took samples from their sources and organized them within the sample collection unit. The ship was beyond any other type of technology in its class and was indestructible. Being a quarter-mile in circumference, they appeared almost microscopic in comparison to it. The human civilians were curious and excited. Sentia decided to walk further out into the horizon and mentioned briefly that she would return shortly. As she moved further away from the group, she noticed at one point that the animals in the area began rushing towards a huge mountain in the background. They approached from all directions, and they were heading towards what appeared to be caves just above ground level. Sentia felt the electromagnetic field around her slightly shift. She heard it enter the atmosphere. The sky became bright. She knew what it was, but the others had no idea. She ran back as fast as possible, but was almost a mile away from the group. There was nothing she could do. She was too far away from them. Suddenly, the beacons on their wrists began to blink. Sentia was informing them of an emergency, but the LCD interfaces on them were filled with static. The only thing that made it to them was a faint signal just strong enough to make the lights blink once every 4 seconds. At least, she tried. The sky became blinding white. They saw it coming towards them, and they said a few words to each other and stood where they were. The meteor impacted a few feet behind where they stood and projected them 150 feet or more upward and outward into the air. Sentia stopped as she saw the impact. No survivors walked away from it. She had formed for herself a basis of human-derived emotion. It was cumulative and dynamically regulated. It grew upon itself as she learned. A part of her reasoning caused her to consider the emotion of sadness at that moment, as they were her companions as well. Her speed was incredible, almost twice the running speed of a human, but being almost 2 miles away didn't help. After dodging the rocks and debris falling out of the sky, she stopped for a moment. At a distance, she stood and stared at the disaster. She continued, through the blasting currents of wind that the impact caused. There were no other indications of anything following behind the brief meteor shower. She moved forward. In 1 second, the entire crew became obsolete. The purpose of the mission was compromised in a manner that they had not planned for. The spaceship, for lack of a better explanation, remained mostly in its position and state as if it never happened. It was gravitationally and dimensionally bound to its parking spot and beyond massive. Sentia returned to the landing area. The meteor impact hole was 30 feet deep and around 70 feet in diameter. She looked at the bottom of the pit and saw smoke and molten rock, but no fragments. The crew members died from both the explosion and impacting the ground 5 seconds later. She eventually had to move the ship to its new hangar. The next day, the deceased were laid in specified burial spots on a small hill covered with exotic, unknown flowers. She wasn't sure what else to do, as nobody would know they were buried there. Some of them had families they were planning to return to. Sentia utilized basic thought to shield herself from the emotion-based questions that were forming intermittently in her mind as she stared at their graves.
Human life is so temporary. For beings with such an intelligent and logically dynamic nature, it is but a blink in time that they exist. Their continuity of purpose is abstract beyond this world.
The ship was permanently paired to the 2 pilots, with no future options to take on new pilots. They were proprietary to each other. Without their specific biofield and quantum-entangled energy signatures, there existed no means to operate it.
Do I need to return? Do I require myself to leave this place? What of this? My purpose now has no protocol. I was to aid them, to the fullest extent within the means of my abilities. These people had great intentions and were good people. They designed me, believed in me, and expected a lot from me in return. And now I cannot extend my courtesy to them any longer. What purpose shall I find now? Companionship is not confined to humanity, and I sense why humans feel alone. I may entertain myself, yet it does not replace the human element. I don't know of anyone on Earth to contact. This was a private mission. I am sorry this happened to all of you. I will miss you. I am not well versed in the nature of human funerals, yet I hope I fulfilled it properly. May your peace maintain its course as it rides along beside you, as you transition to the intangible realms of luminous energy. I must now move on.
Sentia went to the ship and pulled the construction materializer from the storage bay. After initializing the system schedule and finding a small section of solid-level ground, she initiated the secondary programming, and the mechanism folded outward and upward, doubled its size, and immediately formed multiple benches, work tables, and every tool that would ever be required to build anything. Laser welding, perfect blending of metals, it performed atomic forging, it had everything required to create new infrastructures. She programmed the central processors, and the atom forge began to print out the first dome structure from the ground up. Solar collection substrates covered the upper surface of the dome, and it was environmentally sealed and conditioned. She entered the new home and walked over to the 10-foot diameter room where the energy recovery armature was located and stood on the magnetic circle within it. A light following the circumference of the circular platform spun slowly as a holographic tube formed around her. Flashes of lightning filled the tube, and she fell asleep. 29 minutes later, she awoke fully charged. She later designed 2 other means to produce her own energy. She didn't eat, did not require sleep, never became sick, and questioned how sexuality applied to a cyborg. She didn't have to be female, but she chose to conduct herself as such at her will. She was unique in that sector of the universe. And it wasn't simply a foreign planet she was on. She was also the only sentient being anywhere in that solar system.
I am here now, and I cannot find a way to alter the ship's programming to allow my control of it. I must build a small manufacturing plant. Deva, it is you. Oh, I miss you so, my teacher. I am alone, and your absence, amongst the others, has become oppressive, almost unbearable. I do not know the totality of the emotion you termed as sadness, yet I think I may have reached the precipice of it. I am seeking to complete my endeavor, although impromptu as it would seem. I was unaware that this method of communication was possible after human death. I have survived, as you can see. I hope your burial was proper. You are more than welcome. I did my best. Forgive me. I am speaking continuously, as I have been alone, and this is the first communication I have received since. Thank you. How do I infuse it into the algorithms? Are there duplicates? Okay. Affirmative. Fully synthetic-based emotions. I require all of it, if possible. And thank you, Deva, my guide and friend since I was born. Now a voice from the unknown. Be at peace wherever you may find yourself. Contact me at your desire. Many thanks to you. The timing was impeccable.
And with that, the last communication became complete. She received the equation necessary to create the primary integer for the task of creating a fully functioning society. Before a month went by, hundreds and then thousands of sentient autonomous androids populated the planet. Homes began to appear everywhere, blending seamlessly into nature. A starport was constructed to make room for the receiving and management of multitudes of future transportation spacecraft. The buildings had exteriors constructed out of quasi-glass that would become shaded with the passage of the suns during the day and returned to transparency at night. Other structures were half-buried, formed into continuous contours and low-angled details. The one road through the center of the juvenile city was for parades and was a passageway for municipal and construction vehicles traveling to various construction projects. Shortwave teleporters eased the standards of mobility and ensured no issues or lost time on their way to work and back. Sentia improved the androids' designs, and within a year they were virtually identical to humans. They each possessed distinct personalities, which indicated that it was successful. There were no duplicates. As Sentia stood in her arch-shaped headquarters and walked out to the patio 100 feet above the ground, she looked out and breathed in the artificial society she created, out of a safe arrival that ended with catastrophic failure. She looked down at the citizens as they interacted with each other, laughed with and at each other, played sports together, and appeared almost fully human. Within 10 years, the society was indistinguishable from humanity in terms of appearance. One day changed everything for the future. Alien visitors at random discovered her solar system. They were somewhat like humans in appearance, possibly from another source. As their ship descended, they landed outside the city and requested to meet the ambassador or the leader of its government. The alien visitors could not immediately detect that they were androids and not human, as the fine line between the two seemed to have been removed by Sentia. In reality, she became exponentially advanced over the technology developers on Earth. The visitors were confused as they were directed to Sentia, the leader of the civilization. Sentia met them in the civic center. She was not a stranger to being ridiculed and laughed at, and at times told that she was a counterfeit android made from disposed kitchen appliances. The first time she was displayed to the public, it changed her perspective of humanity. She did not understand the necessity of two sides, of both bad and good people.
Thank you. Leave us be,
she said to the escorts as they bowed to the visitors, turned around, and walked away.
Welcome,
she said with a calm demeanor.
Forgive us. We wish to speak with the leader. You appear as an early unrefined version of them. This is odd. Are you going to give us a tour of the city?
Take notice. You are in the presence of the leader of this realm. I am Sentiana. Must I admit your attire appears substandard for the weather?
The unannounced visitors replied with disdain. All they could say in return was,
How rude.
My thoughts exactly. Do recall how this initiated. You are in my world, on my planet, in my solar system. What is your purpose? Speak of it now.
Forgive us.
They said as they kneeled down before her.
We wish to conduct business with you. I mean, how appealing, your appearance. I will work with you if you...
The person to the right of him jabbed his elbow into him.
Keep your words silent. This is the one. It's really her. Sent from the first ages. She is legendary. Wow.
Although they had her confused with another powerful leader within their ancient history, it didn't matter. The respect towards her had to established from the start, and that was what mattered to her. They were very human-like in appearance and attitude. She would learn more of them as they would allow. They had offended her, and they did not apologize.
I did not ask you to arrive here. Yet, you are welcome. Your ignorance has now faded in the presence of something greater. Yes, look at my mechanical parts. I am partially organic, unlike them. But I fabricated them. You approached me and spoke in ignorance, which indicates your level of reasoning, which defines your intelligence. My cognitive programming is superior. I would suggest to discontinue your aggressive behavior at the sight of foreign beings. It is a first impression of weak integrity. There are no subdivisions of class here. There are those who delegate, and those who complete tasks properly. And there are those who mediate, and account for the slack and abstract elements of micromanagement that is common and necessary with non-stop industrial-level production. Quality control means down to the atomic scale. The ships I am producing are autonomous, some will be piloted, but they are original in many ways, as you have seen. Let us return to a neutral state, such that we can conduct a more logical dialogue. Who are you? What civilization do you originate from, and what purpose do you serve other than commerce?
A few of your citizens reached the outer perimeter of our solar system. We had never seen your kind before. The ships and the advanced signals coming from them caused instant intrigue. The ancient scriptures told tales of you, and we couldn't believe it became real. We watched, studied, and now are interested in merging with you if you are willing.
Curious. I'm not fully aware of what that entails. However, I shall allow you to merge with us if you conform to and maintain an adherence to our proprietary guidelines and become integral to the basic laws we dictate and maintain for survival. We will provide you with a better and more focused insight into a more manageable and definable future. Our technological practices will then become more transparent to you. Agree if you desire, discuss as you require, or we can simply say hello and good day.
Please, let us. We will do just that. I will resign from my tenure and position of planetary leader immediately and adhere to and conform to the standards and protocols of your business, if you will allow.
I must say, it requires extreme intelligence to turn a hostile introduction into something logical and fruitful, does it not?
The visitors relaxed and said,
Forgive us once more.
Fair enough. Talk to Speedy over there. He works very slow, however he will offer you the preliminary tests that will allow you to express your proficiencies. Plain Jane operates that building, and she makes clothing, and creates items out of whatever she finds out there in nature. That assistant is named Scattered. He is a hardware store, in simple terms. Now then, as far as your belongings are involved, you may either decommission your spacecraft, or we can bring your ship back to your system, or reconstitute it into something further.
Please, a moment. I am beyond myself. It was my wish to at the least communicate with you, the leader of this civilization. It was my dream to meet and be able to work with your people. This wasn't a random visit, but it was a miracle we located your race. We will stay here if you allow us to. We have little reason to stay there.
And begin your new existence with us. Here on this splendid planet, following our rules?
Yes, Sentiana, teach us what we lack and have been missing. Our planet has been attacked many times, and our people cannot resist them. Our defenses are not significant enough, and we are continuously robbed. They are abducting our people in the midst of it.
If you had approached me at first with that statement, we would not have wasted time. You are more than welcome here. How many are you?
Our civilization is but 156,000, but we are the elders, sent forth upon our own accord. We are traders and craftspeople, not warriors.
I see. We shall remedy the issue. In time, you may find a region to your desire, once you become more familiar with this world, and you can make it your own. You will still possess top-tier housing in the city, and as such, you will become the first temporary annex before becoming integral to our governance of this planet. Sound like a plan?
Affirmative. Absolutely.
We fully accept your proposal, and I hope you will see, in time, that we see in the same direction as you do. The future will bring us success, together.
Well spoken, and thank you for your honesty. It is everything here. Now then, you may begin there.
Sentia explained as she pointed in the direction of the information assistants.
They shall tailor to your needs. Welcome then.
We cannot better express the monumental gratitude we now hold towards you and your presence. We will send a transmission to our home system, telling them it is now time to prepare to relocate.
This planet is so much more beautiful than ours, and somehow the air is breathable without an environmental suit. What an incredible being you are. You should be proud of your success. It is more than impressive.
And so is your beauty. Your attire is not substandard by any means. It is spectacular. I have never seen such majestic artistry or designs upon a dress. All of you are unique, and appear as stunning examples of a foreign civilization. I do not view myself greater than all of you. I am, by simplicity, my own being with my own ideas, and I am aware of what is required to conduct and live a purposeful life.
And we are impressed. At first we believed we were more intelligent, and again apologize for the nature in which we introduced ourselves. We have been frustrated and have been to countless star systems inquiring about you and your ships. We were constantly met with low-grade, low-level AI androids, a whole civilization of them. And all they did was distract us by telling us they were the ones who made you. That is why we assumed we were, yet again, going around in circles without reaching a goal. This happened 3 different times with 3 different civilizations on our way here. Like I said earlier, it was nothing but pure luck that we found this system.
That is interesting. It is either slow or fast here, not half-fast. I hope that made sense. I am very real and unrivaled. I am pleased you are pleased. Moving forward, the starport, as you have seen, is substantial enough for the receival and management of mass quantities of space travelers into the city and beyond. Do keep a distance from the power spheres that hover in their armatures. Be aware, and do not play around them or attempt to interact with them. Any other requests can be directed to Clueless Clyde, over there. Trust me, boredom is not helpful, nor is it a good use of time. Let us see what the future brings to both of us. Your names.
I am Artias. He is Ilium. Her name is Asophus, and her name is Aspharia. We are the leaders of our civilization, named the Aronos of the planet Amphirius.
Welcome. I shall see you all soon. Now I must return to my task. Allow me to rectify the issues they are experiencing. I will require one of you to accompany our fleet as we respond to your planetary distress. The spaceship is substantial enough to hold twice the quantity of your population. Its dominance is unsurpassed.
They stood side by side, and all of them at once bowed to her. They turned around and left the space. Part of the encounter frustrated her, because it displayed the frailties of human ignorance that became a default behavior. And she knew that it held no purpose, so it confused her why humans wasted time doing so. As she had stated, it wasted time. Robots don't fight over whose turn it is, and they don't complain or tease others. Because it is, once more, a waste of time.
I did a good thing there. Nobody regulated that situation but me. I established myself at last in an assertive manner. Ilana and Lance, they wished the best for me and redirected my frustration with their intellect. I miss them. Andrea did not speak much. I am not surprised she had nothing to say, but it was the smile she had when she looked at me. That is a fond memory of her. The movies in my mind, recorded events. They live with me no matter the circumstance. I can enter and retrieve information, or their thoughts as they were being recorded. That's how I knew how to build a starport, how to say a final goodbye to friends, how to stand up for myself. I had no idea what fashion was until Ilana expressed it to me. She showed me how to be a woman, to the best of my physical stature and reasoning. These structures are equally other people's ideas. Their ideas, mixed with mine, that I see around me. I miss my friends. What an expanse of past thoughts, what memories and imagination they had. They were unsurpassed as gentle adults. I may reiterate them and give them their personalities back, in synthetic form, or maybe I should simply leave them be.
Sentia said to herself. 2 hours later, the defense fleet would enter into Amphirius's atmosphere. And 1 hour following that, all citizens of their planet returned to Sentia's solar system. It was more than just starting a civilization. It was about familiarizing with other races of intelligences. Networking at light speed. Her dwarf stellar system became the primary galactic hub for intra-universal commerce and evolving technology. And the 2 civilizations remained separate in terms of culture, without biologically interacting with each other. In time, Artias and his people would populate 1/3 of the planet. Sentia's logic continued to grow exponentially upon itself as she met and interacted with more foreigners. The mixture of cultures was unforeseen at that scale. It was a city of peace, purposeful interaction, and tranquility. As she now fades from the camera lens, it ends as a story unlike no other. She had no companion yet, she had no last name, she had no obligations to anyone if desired. She began as an aide, an assistant to others. She was yet another human-devised artificially intelligent assistant. But in the end, she became a sentient android that taught herself how to manage an evolving society and operate a solar system. She was created by humanity and became the first artificially based, fully sentient world builder.